Hello everybody in this new tutorial of Angular 8 and asp.netcore. So today I'll show you how to use a guard in order to secure your routes. So let's navigate to login to user model and add a new property called profile type of number. So this profile will be defined in Web API enumeration project. Now let's add new folder called guard, and inside we'll need to add new file type script called auth guard, authentication guard. So this guard, the objective of this guard is to check every time we try to access a route, a specific route that will be defined in the app routing model. You'll check if the logged user has the right access to get this route. So let's define this auth guard class. So this class implements can activate. So the can activate is the object of can activate is to check the business rule every time we access a specific component defined in the app root model. So here let's clean the code and make the imports correctly. We don't need all this. So by default we return a false, so you don't have access to this route. And now let's try to get the current connected user. So in order to make this, we need to inject the user service in the constructor. So user service type of user service, and let's make it private. And we need also to inject the router. So private route type of router in order to make the redirection if we need it. So let's declare a new variable or a new constant represent the current user. So current user is equal to this dot user service dot current user, and let's check if the current user is different from null, which means the current user is logged in and this current user has a profile equal to 2. We'll see in the C# project, in the Web API project, we will define the different profiles. So the 2 will be a manager profile. So if the current user is not null and the current profile is equal to 2, so we return true. The current user has the right to access the current route. And in the app routing model, let's add a new path. Before that, we need to generate, for example, a new component called manage user, in which we will add a new user, delete a user. We'll see this in other tutorial. So let's change the path to manage user and change the component to manage user component. And we need to add the guard in order to say check this component if the current user satisfy the business rule and have the right profile to access this resource. So we add can activate and auth guard, and let's import the file. So in the Web API project, let's add a new property in user model called profile type of user profile enumeration. That's why we need to add a new enumeration in farm.enums project. So the profile, normally we can have a manager, anonymous user, ordinary user. So let's define 3 type of profile. So the first one is anonymous or none, it's equal to 0. A user, for example, is equal to 1. And finally, let's add a manager who has the right to access the list of user. He can edit, add, delete a user in the database. So let's change the profile type of user profile enumeration. So eventually, don't forget to add a migration, because we changed the model in the database. We added here a new colon profile. We need to add a new database migration. So let's update the database. That's right. And finally, let's run the project, and don't forget to put manually the profile in the database for the items. So here, let's run the project, and I think we need to make a redirection. So here the user is not he doesn't have the right to access this resource. We need to redirect him to the sign in if he doesn't log it in. So here we define the return URL in order to return the user and the correct URL. So let's try to connect with a manager, and here let's work, and let's try to log it in with a normal user and try to access, and here we direct him to the home because he's logged and don't have access. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe.